Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the King CJ Music Podcast, where we talk music, pop culture, and all terrific things. Listen, I don't know, right? So I believe it's Super Bowl weekend, right? I believe it'll be Super Bowl weekend this weekend. So I'm concerned, right? Because people like, for example, Kendrick did take home 5 Grammys for dissing Drake. Essentially, is what it is. It's interesting though because I'm seeing people say that he shouldn't perform a diss record on the biggest stage of them all. However, I'm trying to rationalize this out because I think though, Not Like Us made him literally the reason why he's at the Super Bowl this year, because it was a popular song throughout the summer, which means, the reason the Super Bowl even looked his way this year would be for the Not Like Us record or the GMX album. And I don't necessarily know because he had this before GMX came out, so I don't necessarily know if we can associate that with GMX. But a lot of people are proud. A lot of people are calling that he doesn't perform this track, and I'm trying to figure this out. So you guys wanted him to release Not Like Us because you think it's cool. You were bumming it all summer. However, you're saying you don't want it performed at the Super Bowl because of what? Right, and if I'm predicting it and somebody like, I don't know, somebody goes, hey, he shouldn't perform it because they don't feel like it's acceptable at the Super Bowl, I'm missing the correlation because you say it's part of the culture. The culture's the reason they do it. But then if he doesn't perform Not Like Us, then what's the conversation? Right? And so, you know, I'm kind of confused about that because I would assume that if you like Not Like Us like that, I like Euphoria. But like, if you like a diss track so much, I would assume, right? I would reasonably assume that you prefer it to be played at the Super Bowl because it's one of the biggest songs. However, this controversy for the past week has been that he shouldn't perform it at the Super Bowl, which I do not quite understand. Because if you want somebody to perform a song that you like at the Super Bowl, that got you to the Super Bowl, Not Like Us is one of those records from GMX, even though Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers did go significantly good this year. I think, we have to be fair, like at the point that, I think Not Like Us was literally might be the reason that, because then 95 is good, but I don't think in 95 was the reason that he got the Super Bowl, right? I think Not Like Us is probably the more likely reason that he got Not Like Us, right? So I don't necessarily know. Because a lot of people are saying that the older audience probably does not understand Not Like Us, right? And that's fine. I think that's great. I mean, depends on who you work with. Because the people I work with are understanding that, like, Not Like Us is kind of essentially calling somebody uh, a PDF, right? And the issue with that also is, though, essentially, if that's what it is, because you kind of put on that map of like predators, essentially what that is, around his house, it's great, right? But at the same time, though, you have some people that aren't really connected to it, and so if this is their first time hearing it on stage for Black History Month, then it's weird, right? Because it's like. It's weird because it's weird though, right? Because essentially people say that Drake is white or Caucasian, which is fine, but essentially he's mixed, right? He's Jew. I think he's Jewish. I think, right? But I think essentially what it comes down to is that he's essentially mixed. And I'm not trying to offend anybody here, but it's just like racial categories that society has made. Society has made racial groups. But essentially, I'm not going to my house there. But essentially, it's definitely a weird thing to listen to. Essentially, because the Super Bowl is what in like 48 hours, 24, 48 hours, right? Because I'm recording this late on a Friday. So I think this is the thing. And the other issue, right? Aside from Kendrick, we have this issue, and so. Thursday, I put out a quick podcast episode where I was trying to figure out what Lil Wayne's surprise was going to be. To my surprise, and to everyone else's surprise, he's not dropping an album Friday. He's dropping it in June 6th, 2025, which will be the Carter 6. But that's 6/6/26, right? I think this is the thing. And I figured it because you'll hear it in the episode where I talk about, well, if he's going to drop something, it's going to have to be the Carter 6 this year, because he said he was going to drop it in 2025. But we're a far distance away from 2025. Like, we're far, right? We're far from the actual production of this album. He said it's already made and it's already finished, but, like, we're far away from that. And so he publicly announced his album, did a lot of publicity for it, because DJ Khaled did a lot of publicity for his album that'll be coming out, that he says has two Drake features, right? So it's, people are doing album rollouts, and we're getting these big announcements from big fans, big artists. DJ Khaled being a producer. It's interesting because I don't know, right? And then you have the DJ Khaled aspect of it, where DJ Khaled is like, essentially, I have two new Drake singles on it, and Drake says, I think you mean Drake Bell. But I think that comment is currently deleted. Like, I can't find that comment. But that comment is currently deleted. This is not what I had planned for this episode, but, next week I should have a better episode. I'm just not feeling the best. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. So, let's talk about the DJ Khaled. His album, which I figured is going to have a lot of features. He's good at putting features together. He's not gonna rap like The Alchemist on a beat, so I don't expect much from DJ Khaled. Another one, but I don't know. So essentially, we got that out the way. R.I.P. to I've got it, because essentially the reason I know him though is because he sold he was on Murder Inc. and he sold that in his publishing, I believe, or his royalties, to sell to a company for $300 million. And so, I mean, his net worth is like 25 million, which is significantly less, but he died a millionaire. If that net worth is right. Normally it's wrong, but that net worth is probably close to what he has. He's been in the news a lot. A lot of his interviews, though, have been like Vlad, Drink Champs, and so listening back to those like episodes, because finding out he died is a sad thing, and R.I.P. to his family. I know he left a girlfriend. I think he had kids, but like, it's 2025 has been very unpredictable. We started off very unpredictable, and so like we're getting part of that, but we're also getting like the larger aspect of things where we're like, hey, this is a bit weird. But yeah, it's weird news because he's been able to do so much and leverage his like company, right? Like, to leverage his company, he's been able to do so much. And it's essentially what I enjoy, because it's, I don't know, like, I enjoy like the artists, what they've created. When he was originally Murder Inc., that's Master P's record label, I believe. But essentially it's great to hear it, but like to like physically go through this, where I'm kind of like announcing people's deaths, but talking about albums, talking about Super Bowls and stuff, and all of this combined is really sad. But like, this is kind of that format that I kind of agreed to when I decided to do this podcast, which is a more interesting perspective, right? So, with that being said, though, I really do hope that we're not getting these announcements as much as we currently are at this rate. At that same time, though, the Carter 6 is coming out June 6th, so I guess we have something to wait for. Party Next Door and Drake's album. There I know. Party Next Door and Drake's album comes out Valentine's Day, which is an interesting time to drop an album. For a lot of different reasons. But I don't know why you would drop an album on Valentine's Day. I mean, I get it if you were like, This is gonna age well. This is not gonna age well. But like if you are R. Kelly dropping like, I don't know what are his like famous tracks. I can think of a few, but I don't think they're like appropriate for like what we're currently talking about. But like him and Part Next Door have great, and as I said before, when Part Next Door dropped his album, either they're gonna have to do a collab album because the rap beef between Drake and Kendrick overshadowed Part Next Door's album release, or Party was gonna drop that label. Which surprisingly, what I found out is that they're doing a collab album and it comes out in like less than a week, which is great because I want to hear an album of a Drake and a Part Next Door album. It's weird though because it's like, I don't know, it's weird. Because essentially what we're saying is, you like Drake with the melodies, but a lot of people in the rap culture were like, hey, we want to hear Drake rap. And I mean, Drake rapped. So, I get it. But it is kind of concerning, though, right? Like, if you're making hits, I get it. But that album is called Some Sexy Songs for You, which I think is creative, but I don't know why you would drop it on Valentine's Day. I think, dropping on Valentine's Day is either a risk that essentially you know what you're doing, or you don't. But Valentine's Day is like that Friday, so I get it. But I don't know anybody, unless you're an R&B artist, I don't know why you drop on Valentine's Day, right? So I get it. It's Party Next Door to Drake album. It should do numbers. But because Drake's dropping another solo album later this year, which if it's a true solo album, it should be great. We should get an A and a B side. I think that'll get the fans back up. I don't know, man. I think I truly think though, like I think Drake's and Kendrick beef is overshadowed Part Next Door album, and I'll say this, and I really do think that it did, because it didn't get the proper rollout that it needed, unless you're a Part Next Door fan, and so that's part of my issue in itself. So this album, I assume, is kind of trying to make it back up to have a collab album, but I don't know. I think this collab album would be 14 songs. But they're saying some songs. Some is like 7, right? I don't know. So we'll see what comes, right? But if Kendrick performs not like us, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I see that he would probably do songs from Pimp a Butterfly, because I would assume that's his favorite album. But I don't know. J-Max might be the move. I'm allegedly getting a rumor now that it's allegedly he's having a surprise, which I don't know what the surprise would be. This will be interesting. This will be an interesting Super Bowl commercial, I think. But that being said, though, I really do hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope we got to some of your points that you wanted to talk about today. If we didn't, I do apologize. That'll probably be the next episode. But one of my next episodes is something interesting that I kind of wanted to do. It's something that I enjoy doing, but also talking about, because a lot of people, and what I've learned is a lot of people get lyrics wrong. And so when they get lyrics wrong, I'm just curious of how we explain this, especially in the kind of psychology or psychology as a whole. But I do find those interesting. With that being said, though, you have listened to the King CJ Music Podcast, and we hope to see you in the next one.